My name is Dylan CineMasai Green, and welcome to the Real Notes podcast. I speak with rappers, producers, journalists, and other hip-hop adjacent figures about their relationship with movies, and, if at all, film inspires their craft. My guest this week is New York journalist and author Thomas Golianopoulos. We spoke about watching movies on cable, the virtues of the movie theater experience, a handful of moments from his career as a journalist for outlets like Complex, Pitchfork, and Grantland, all things John Singleton, from his films to his personal life, and as much as we can fit into this conversation, and the creative process behind Golianopoulos' debut book, The Life of Singleton, from Boyz N The Hood to Snowfall, out now via AndScape Books and Penguin House Publishing. Come fuck with us. What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to Real Notes. Pardon the slightly lower energy than usual. It's 8:21 in the morning on this side. I think on your side too, because you're based in New York, right?
I'm in the Bronx. Yeah, where are you?
Word. Yeah, I'm in Jersey. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm like North Jersey. I'm right outside the city. My name's Dylan Green, CineMasai. Got a lot of names, do a lot of shit outside, inside, all sides. Like I'm feeling good. I got my water. I'm wrapped in a blanket, and I'm with somebody who I was doing all my research and my Googles and reading articles across platforms, across eras. Your reputation very much speaks for you, my friend. Like
Oh, thank
I
you.
was, yeah, nah. Like I saw you had all this. I saw you had this extensive backlog on Grantland and Complex, and like you were saying before, you've written a handful of things for Pitchfork. Like, yeah, just you've really. I mean, obviously you're a rap head, but you write about a lot of different stuff. You've written about politics. You've written about rap. My favorite thing that I saw you wrote was this whole article on Kobe Bryant's rap history, which was
Oh my
really
God.
fun. Which is really, really fun. Just like I don't know. I've been thinking about basketball. I've been thinking about ball playing rappers a lot lately between like him and Shaq and AI. Like Allen, like to me. I know people feel some type of way about Shaq, but I really actually quite enjoy Allen Iverson's album he put out. I thought it was
Oh,
pretty good.
wow.
I don't know if other people agree with that, but like he's kind of AI is kind of like the one to me. He always has been, and it was cool. It was cool to see him do his thing, just because. But like I didn't know much about Kobe as a rapper, so to read that was really fun.
That's so
And
funny. That story. No, the funniest thing about that story, real quick, was that it was
yeah, yeah, yeah.
published on like a Friday morning, and like this was like in 2013 or something, where like I wasn't as a freelancer, so I didn't have like access to like their like chart beat or whatever they were using to measure clicks or whatever. But I was just like seeing it how it was performing on like Twitter and on Facebook.
Yeah.
And like by like 3 o'clock, like the aggregates were like were latching on, and you were having articles on like all hip hop and like all the hip hop, like all the like
Uh-huh.
it was getting aggregated by the sports and rap
Yeah.
websites, and like the Facebook recommendations, which I think was like the way they measured stuff like that back in the
Oh,
day,
yep.
was like going through the roof. It was like
Yep.
thousands and thousands. And I was like, holy shit, this is like, my biggest like article ever. And then like 12 hours after the article is published, Kobe tears his Achilles in a game.
Shit.
And like by the next morning, like you Google Kobe Bryant, and like so by like at like 7 p.m., like if you Google Kobe Bryant, like it was just all stuff about my article. And then by 12 hours later in the morning, like it just got pushed all the way down because everybody just cared about his
Yeah,
career
man.
ending, basically.
And that's so crazy because that like I mean like people listening who might be a bit younger like that's dead how it was like yeah like on the first job I worked like a big part of that was like monitoring the way like Facebook in particular was like the big metric for people. It was right before the big pivot to video and like Facebook
If
views.
it's a video, like that's like something where you tell people, you say that phrase to people of a certain age, and like we make a face, like
Yo, I was right. Like that was like right when my career started. Like I started writing professionally in 2014. No, 2013. And then when I got my first big job at Watch Loud, like that was when the stuff really started to like that's when like everybody was like chasing Facebook likes and Facebook views and
Right.
Facebook clicks. Like that was like the thing to do. Like and that was like if like 10 years ago it feels like it was like 40. It was insane. But just to see you have weathered all that and for a lot of this stuff to live the way it has. And obviously, we're here to talk about somebody very particular who you've written about a ton, and I believe have interviewed quite a few times.
A few times.
The man, the myth, the legend, John Singleton. Um,
Mhm.
but before we get into that, Thomas Golianopoulos is here. Like this is a real treat. I'm so happy to do this. The life of
So
Singleton
happy
from
to be
Boys in
here.
the Hood
Thank
just the Life of Singleton from Boys in the Hood to Snowfall is right here. If you're on Patreon, you can see me doing this, but if you're not, you're listening to
you. They
me
sent you
tap.
the galley. That's kind of
Yeah,
lame. Asked
yeah,
them to send you the
yeah.
hardcover. That's oh god. I don't even want to. I'll stop myself right there.
I feel you. Nah, man. I just appreciate having this regardless. I unfortunately didn't get to finish it, but the amount of this I mean, I love John Singleton. He comes up on here a lot. Obviously, you talk to a lot of rappers about movies, you're gonna hear a lot about John
Yeah.
Singleton because of course. But this is real. I mean, like all your work, this is very extensive, very thorough. Lots of stuff I didn't know in here. And once again, like I'm really looking forward to like actually getting to finish it. But yeah, I mean, first and foremost, thank you so much for like you reached out to me like on the humble, and I was like you was like John Singleton book, and I was like John Singleton book, let's go. And I'm sorry that it took. I'm like I know we've been kind of working with each other's schedules for the last couple months, but
Yeah.
I'm happy we finally settled and
Same
made it
here.
happen. So
Same here.
thank you.
And no, I'm glad we got to make it happen too, for sure.
Yeah, totally. I mean, well, normally I start this off. Normally, the first question I ask everybody is, "What was the last thing you watched?" But because this is gonna be a John Singleton heavy episode, I gotta ask the annoying question. What's your favorite John Singleton movie?
I mean, you know the answer to that before you even. There's something I like to tell my kids, like, why you ask me a question you already know the answer to?
Yeah,
Of course,
man.
it's Boys in the Hood.
Yeah, come on.
It's by far his best movie. But if you wanted the one B, like no, I feel like the number two answer, my second favorite John Singleton movie is the more interesting answer, and Baby Boy. Like
Oh, thank
I,
you.
I
Thank you for
love
saying that.
I love Baby Boy, and it's one of those movies where
Yeah.
like I always liked it, and then until I reported this book out, like then it like ascended to like God status almost. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's like no, I had no idea. I saw it in the theaters actually when it came out. It was like I was like 20 or 21 or something like that, and
Hmm.
I liked it, but it was just like having reported the book and realizing how much of it was his life, how much of it was autobiographical, like not as much as Boys, but kind of like almost.
Yeah.
It's funny, like I can't. Every time I see that movie, I can't stop thinking about one of the people I interviewed for the book where we were talking about it, and they were like Jody's lines, like that's John. Like when he would like say to when he says to a vet, like, I don't know why I fuck other females. I just do. That's what I am. That's how I am. Like, they were like, that's John. Like, all I know
Wow.
how to do, one thing I know how to do is make pretty babies. Like, John used to say that all the time, too.
Wow.
Like, all those, when he submitted the script the first time, like, one of his, like, closest collaborators said to him, like, motherfucker, are you putting your life on, are you just doing this to write about your life? And he's like, motherfucker, I am, you know?
Wow.
Um, so yeah, like Baby Boy should be 10, 15 minutes shorter, like he fell in love, like, his editor told me, he worked with like the same editor for like 8 of his 9 movies,
Which is
Bruce
fire.
Bannon. He was like, John was a writer and he fell in love with his characters and he fell in love with scenes. And like, it was a struggle to get him to cut anything because he just loved it so much. And yeah, like there's some things that could have been cut in Baby Boy. I mean, the studio meddled a bit. I don't know how far you got into the book at that point. Like they had him add like the whole drive-by scene was added in, and Snoop and
Oh wow.
there's like go because originally he kills he kills Snoop just because he tried to rape Yvette,
Yeah.
and the studio was
Right.
like, "Oh, that kind of makes him a murderer, doesn't it?" And he was like, "No, he
Like
he has to protect his family. Like this is like some tragic shit where like he is like this is his way to become a man is by protecting his family. It's.
yeah.
But they were like, no, we have to give him another reason. So they added the drive-by scene, and he was like fretting because he's like, gosh, everybody's going to compare it to every single drive-by scene that's been in like every like quote unquote hood movie for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And
Especially from Cali, like yeah, it's
yeah,
already
yeah. But out of that, like he produced gold. Like that whole, you remember that speech that Omar Gooding's character gives,
Oh yeah.
the prayer. Singleton wrote that like on the fly,
Jeez.
where it was like,
Wow.
let's add this in because he had to add in the drive-by scene, so he had to. That's where the prayer scene comes in as well.
Yeah.
So you get that scene, which has been sampled on like mixtapes, and people love that scene. So
Yeah.
Baby Boy. It's a long story short, like
S-
Boys is the best. Like it's kind of not even a conversation, but
Yeah,
Baby
man.
Boy is a strong number two.
So I'm happy you said that because I just rewatched Baby Boy for the first time in years back. Well, not just. I watched it back in January.
Okay.
Like I watched it because I saw Baby Girl, the Nicole Kidman movie that came out earlier this year, and I did like
Oh
a double
gosh.
feature just because, like it was like Baby Girl, Baby Boy. I was
Yeah.
like, I've been looking for an excuse, so I just did it. And I mean, to me, like you're right. Boys is the best one. It's not even a question. Like it really is one of those like it's canonized. It's a fucking classic. Anybody who watches it falls in love with Boys in the Hood. I love Baby Boy. I got a homie Caleb. He and I talk about it all the time. Like to me, like Baby Boy is like a 4.5 out of 5 star movie. It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
even though I agree it could be shorter, I still think it's the best version of exactly what it's trying to be. Like
Okay.
it's
That's
just
a good point.
it gets it. Like Tyrese is incredible. Why am Taraji is incredible. Snoop's incredible. I love the soundtrack. I love the way it feels. Like growing up, like I knew quite a few Jodies growing up. Like not a ton, but like I knew the archetype. The type like even if it's not like oh the dude who's kind of stuck at home da 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 like just like personality wise like I knew a Jodie or two.
Right.
So like and I'm like watching it as you get older and um I love the intro of the movie. I love how weird it is, just like him being in this like weird ass utero, like crouched over as like a
That
big,
like was what inspired him, really, kind of like those
yeah,
Dr. Francis Cress Welsing's writings, really.
right,
But we can't talk about Baby Boy and not bring up like Ving Rhames. Like
yeah, man. Like it just
he is just
eats
like
eats everything, man.
he is so good, and she and AJ is great too. Like I interviewed AJ for the AJ Johnson for the book, and she made a great point where she was like, our goal was to like in that fight scene that like uh you're rooting for Juanita and Melvin. Like you want
Yeah,
them to like kick out Jody because like they're obviously so in love and she needs to find her happiness, and Jody is an impediment to that, and you want her to you want him to like leave and let them be happy. And they were incredible in that movie. And that Ving Rhames scene, oh my god, where he comes up from
W-
behind and he
yeah. He
strangles
chokes him out in
Jody.
the chair. Like, come on, man. Yeah, it's classic.
The thing that's like it's so obvious, but I didn't realize it when I watched it, the first time, was the lion's roar when he comes up from behind and like chokes him. Like
Mm,
Singleton in post, they added the roar of a lion when Ving Rhames comes up from behind and like starts choking him.
wow,
Like check it out on YouTube next time.
that's crazy. Yeah,
I
I gotta
watched
do
it a
that.
million times on YouTube. Oh my god, like yeah, Baby Boy. It's and one last thing on Baby
Yeah,
Boy, which is
yeah.
I feel like I have to mention was how it came on. He did it after Shaft, and
Yeah,
Shaft was like the worst experience for him. Like he was, he was in New York for like on and off for like 2 years. Obviously he was, lived in LA, like his kids were in LA, and he was here for like a year and a half, 2 years on and off. And he was dealing with Scott Rudin, who, as most people who follow the business know, is
Mm-hmm.
difficult. Let's
Yeah.
be diplomatic.
Something like that.
Dreamer.
Yeah.
Um, and um, and it was just not the movie he wanted to make. Like he loved Shaft. He was like, Shaft was his Star Wars. Well, I mean, Star Wars was his Star Wars. Shaft was like his superhero. It was like his Marvel movies. Like he looked up to Richard Roundtree. Like his dad told him that like his dad would tell tall tales, and he said that like Shaft was based on him because he kind of did look like Richard Roundtree in the early 70s. And it just Shaft was emasculated. There's no sex scenes in Shaft. Like, how is there a Shaft with no sex scenes? And it was just like a horrible experience. And he was like, I need to go back to my roots. I need to like write something personal. I need to go back and film in LA, the liquor store around the corner, the
Mm-hmm.
car washed. And that's what was so special about Baby Boy to him. And the thing that's funny was like he had a quote like when he was doing interviews for the movies, he was doing press for the movie for Baby Boy, when he was like, I took all the sexual repression from Shaft and I put it in Baby Boy. And Baby Boy, you have like these two really great sex scenes in the movie where
Yeah.
Shaft was, it was a PG-13 Shaft.
Yeah, which like once again, like so weird. Like I remember watching Shaft for the first time and kind of having all these expectations about it from like my dad and from
Right.
general, just like just like the pop cultural osmosis that comes from something like Shaft. And yeah, I
Right.
remember being weirded out. Like, why is this? I was like, it feels kind of tame compared to like what I was expecting. And and like one more thing that's interesting to me, just that I noticed is like, well, you think about it, like Singleton only made 9 movies
Right.
in his lifetime, and that was the last one that he wrote, directed, and produced. Because he didn't do that for Abduction, he didn't do that for Four Brothers, and he
Right.
didn't do that for I think
Too
there's one
fast.
more I'm forgetting.
Too fast.
Right, Too Fast. Yeah, yeah. So like that was,
Too
like
fast.
baby,
Too
I
furious.
I'm mad because I love Too Fast, Too Furious,
I
but
do
like
too.
yeah,
I
it's
do too.
great.
Yeah. Especially now, like where the franchise is
Yeah.
gone. Like Too Fast is like a
Hmm.
John Singleton Too Fast, Too Furious, Fast and Furious film.
Right. Yeah. No, he really helped to, like, I appreciated you highlighting how important it was for him to help diversify and really spread out and like establish the mythology on that. Like Ludacris and Tyrese wouldn't be in the Fast and Furious universe without that movie, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was a big part of the reason they got cast. Um,
Well, the who got cast first, who got hired first was like kind of still not sure. Like whether I think Universal like wanted Tyrese to replace Vin Diesel. Well,
hmm.
once Vin Diesel, they wanted Vin Diesel first, but
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Universal was like floating Tyrese as like a possibility, and then once that was the case, they were like, well, the director dropped out, Rob Cohen. He dropped out when Vin Diesel dropped out, and then uh, they went to Singleton. That was like Singleton's like first like director for hire gig, where he was kind of like a journeyman.
Hmm.
Where they're like, we have a September start date. Pre-production starts in June. We need a director because it's April and our director just left.
Right.
And he had a good relationship with the people at the studio, and he got the gig. But him or Tyrese, like who got hired first, it's kind of they were like hired together, really. The
Yeah.
thing about Ludacris, written about this like 10 years ago for Grantland. Ludacris got cast because Ja Rule like fronted on Singleton. Like basically, this was like June. This is like spring, summer 2002. Like if you were what's the term? If you were outside at the time, that like Ja was like the biggest artist. He was like the biggest rapper in the world. It was like
Hmm.
him, them, and Nelly were the three like highest selling rappers. Fall of 2001, Ja, Jay-Z, and DMX all put albums within a month, and
Yep.
Ja sold more than The Blueprint. Ja sold more than The Great Depression. So he was, you know, King of the Jungle, as he rapped in one of the, I think, in the intro to that album. And
Yeah.
he thought he was too big to do the Fast and the Furious movie. Like he got, I think, like $50,000 for the first one. Like they were offering him like $500,000. And he was like, basically like, I can make more money touring. And he toured that entire summer. But the thing that pissed off Singleton was John went to his studio in LA to talk to him about it. And Ja was like, basically like put him to the side. Like he wouldn't, he was just like ignoring him kind of. And Singleton like left the studio, and he called his casting director, Kimberly Hardin. And he was just like, get me a list of all the rappers that you think could handle this. And then Kimberly met Ludacris like in August at a anger management tour stop in San Diego, and she put him on camera, and that's how Ludacris got the role. And it was funny because
Wow.
I was working on a story for Grantland, like it was just like a quick like little like blog post almost about like why isn't Ja in the Fast and the Furious movies, and I tried to set up an interview with Ja, and
I read that too. Yeah.
And then I had Singleton's email address from back when we did our first interview like 10 years earlier. And I just emailed him, and I was like, yo, what, you got 5 minutes to talk? Why isn't John the Fast and the Furious movies? And he was like, calling in 10 minutes, and I just picked up the phone, and he just went off for like 5 minutes. And it was like, and that's why Ja isn't in the Fast and the Furious movies, and it was like, all right, that's my blog post, basically. And Ja, that like people were joking around, like, what was Ja's like biggest career misstep? Was it picking on 50 Cent? And I think like, rappers have shelf lives. Like Ja was going to fall off eventually. But if Ja didn't, if he did the Fast and the Furious movie, he'd still be cashing $1 million paychecks now. Like Ludacris has been in a million of them,
Yeah. Yeah, no, he thought he thought he could do "Can I Get A" for the Rush Hour soundtrack, and then he was bulletproof for life, and that's just not how it worked out. Of course he's like, yeah, like to me, I remember when New York happened, the big like him, Fat Joe, Jadakiss song,
Yeah,
which
that
like
record.
still amazing to this day.
Great
Love
record,
that song. Big impact on me personally. But yeah, like look at what happened to Ja. Like now he's like to a whole generation. He's now he's like the Fire Festival dude to a whole generation of people. Like that was a lot of people's
Yeah.
first exposure to Ja Rule is like his involvement with Fire Festival, which like yeah, like you whole other conversation.
Yeah.
Whole other conversation. But okay, so now very rare for this to be the second question, but what was the last movie or TV show you watched you had a strong opinion about?
Well, I watched like a half hour of Shaft last night. It was on cable. And I have a fun, but we don't need to go into that.
Yeah,
We
sure.
already did talk about that a little bit. That movie sucks. It's the 8th best John Singleton movie out of his 9.
Yeah.
But I don't get to watch as many new movies just because work, kids, and I'm like a real theater person. I love going to the movie theater. It's like a
Same.
treat. Like I grew up. I shouldn't say I grew up. Like I lived in an apartment in Astoria for like 10 years, which was like a 10-minute walk from a multiplex. And it would be like I'd get home on like a Monday night at like 7 o'clock, and it's like I have nothing to do. Let me go see a movie. Let me go see whatever is
Right.
playing. When I was a kid, I would go like every Friday, like when I was in college. But the last movie I saw that the like newish movie, like I saw for the first time that I really liked was The Holdovers.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
the Paul Giamatti movie from like 2 years ago, where he was like a
Hmm.
professor, and it's a Christmas movie, I guess. Kind of, it's sad. It's a little like I kind of like was skeptical about it just because like how many times is Paul Giamatti going to play like this like sad sack kind of like character?
Hmm.
But I thought it was good, and I'm not even really like into Alexander Payne, right? He's
Yeah.
a writer director. I'm
Yeah,
not
because
really.
he's the guy who did Sideways too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sideways.
Yeah.
He's that was great, and a lot of people are um, like love Election. I thought Election was cool. I mean, a lot of people love his stuff. Like Nebraska, I've never even seen. There was another one that he did that. Oh, he did The Descendants, the George Clooney movie, which was.
Yeah.
I need to see that again. That was actually like something I remember. I took my mom to go see that. She loves George Clooney. But I really enjoyed The Holdovers. The movies though that I watch, like I still have cable, so I just because of like sports. Like my wife was like, I'm not going to take a chance on missing a Mets game, because of
Word.
how like the streaming is now. So we still have cable. So like, I scroll, I just channel flip still like it's the 90s. And I watch like the same movies like all the time. Like
Word.
I watch Heat like all the time. I watch Varsity Blues all the time. I love Varsity Blues.
Come
Yeah,
on,
I
man.
love Varsity Blues. I watch Boyz N The Hood all the time. I watch 8 Mile all the time. Curb, the Tom Cruise movie. So it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
listening and they have like Stars or like Showtime, like they know what I'm talking about because those movies are on like multiple times a day. The Dark Knight
yeah,
Rises, I'm not really into that movie that much, but just like anytime it's on, I'm like, let me wait for the next scene with Bane in it. So that's like
yeah.
my movie watching now. It's like I have to, like I didn't get a chance to see the PTA movie, the
One battle after another. Yeah,
yeah, and it's like it like hurts me that I haven't seen it, but it's just so difficult for me to not just find time to go to the movies, but like now I live in the Bronx and like the closest movie theater is like in that mall in Yonkers and it's like a 10-15 minute drive. And it's
yeah.
like, and my wife gets home late from work. She works in a hospital. So it's like, I would have to see like a 10 o'clock showing. And it's like, I'm kind of oldish now. So do I want to be like driving home at like 12:30 in the morning? Like, so it's really like crimped my like new movie
I
watching.
feel
Like
you.
it's, it's a little depressing. Like that's like the one thing where it's like people are like what are you gonna do when you're old? And it's like I'm gonna go to the movie like older, really old. I mean, like in like 70s, and it's like I see myself just like going to the movies like the way I did when I was in college, which was like
Yeah.
if the cinema still exists, you know what I mean? Like we don't know with this like whole Netflix taking over, swallowing
Yeah.
Warner Brothers. Um, but I love going to the movies, and it's like one of those things that like I can't wait to find time again, I guess, to go do.
Word. Yeah, I mean, I'm the same. Like yeah, like where I'm at, I live like a 10 to 15 minute drive from a ton of movie theaters. I like, yeah, like going to the movies has been like that's like my happy place forever. So like I'm the person who will go to the 10 o'clock, 10:15, 10:30 showing and then drive home at 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And then my partner lives out on Long Island and they live even closer to a movie theater than I do. So if we're bored, we just go over there and
Yeah,
like they get discounted tickets through I believe AAA. So like we're just going to the movies for dumb cheap. And I got the AMC Stubs A list. So like I paid $30 a month and I could just be like, like I'm not doing nothing. Let me go away. Let me go spend an hour and 40 minutes watching some shit. It's like I don't even think about it. But I'm really interested in, I mean, like once again, like cable and just like the premium channels, like there was always the cycle of like different seasons they would be playing the same 5 or 6 movies. Like
uh,
some of my like a lot of my favorite movies was stuff that I would watch that like might have been on like Stars or HBO at the time. And like Baby Boy was funny enough. That was how I first saw Baby Boy, like through watching it on some channel. I don't remember which one, but that
BET
was
would
the
play it all the time. Like
it wasn't the BET version because that was
yeah,
like the censored crazy,
yeah.
like I watched it like fully uncensored, uncut. I mean I've seen the BET version, but
No,
that wasn't the first.
it's
Yeah.
funny. I talked to Reginald Hudlin for the book, and he ran
Yeah.
BET for like 3 years. And
Yeah, he
he,
sure did.
I think I did the quote. I think I used the quote in the book where he goes, like whenever we wanted to pop a rating on like a Saturday afternoon or on like a weeknight, a slow weeknight, we'd schedule Baby Boy
Yeah.
because it always would pop a rating, like even though they aired it like all the time, and it was the
Yeah.
censored version. which
yeah, like
I mean,
for
it's
anybody,
drinking
I'm sorry.
non-alcoholic beer. Like, I mean, like, what's the point? I feel.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I mean, like for anybody listening who may or may not know, BET at the time, and even still to this day, is kind of infamous for airing these like black classics, like completely neutered and censored to fucking hell. You know, like my like I think my
Freak
favorite
you, no, freak
iteration.
you, freak you.
Right. Yeah, no, I think you're pulling from the poetic justice one, and that's my favorite version. Like like watching watching the version of poetic justice like on the in the scene where Janet and Tupac are going. There's a bunch of scenes where they go back and forth. There's like one specific scene like where they're on where they're in the car and they're having the fight like right at the precipice of the cliff, and like yeah, like the whole thing is just like like it's so many curse words, and it's all just like censored out, like freak you witch, like it's just it's so fucking silly. Like yeah, like those cuts of those movies have a really rich reputation in our community. They're fucking like it's silly obviously, but it's great. It's almost like doing like a laugh tracks or like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 type of
Right.
thing. It's so over the top and dumb, and they were just yeah, it was ridiculous. I like laugh every time I think about it. But yeah, the two most famous ones I think are both John Singleton movies to me, Poetic Justice and Baby Boy. Like those two cuts are they're like almost mythical. Like pe- people should screen them like you'd screen like a Mystery Science Theater. It's that good
It's
to
almost like
me.
the clean version of like rap songs, like where
Yeah,
like DMX like radio hit, like radio edits from like the late '90s, where they would have like the bark in place of the curse, or like he'd go
yeah,
woo in place of a curse.
yeah,
Like there's a skill to it. It's like kind of like, although
yeah.
I will say like there's this one DMX song where he's on it. I don't think it's a DMX song. I think it's the is it scenario remix kind of like where they use the beat from the intro to dun 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 dun. Anyway, the DMX verse, like the way they block out the curses is hilarious. Like I prefer that to like the dirty version because
hmm
the arcs and the woos that are used to censor.
There's a LL Cool J song on the soundtrack for the Nutty Professor to the Clumps, which is honest to God one of my favorite albums of all time.
The Nutty
And
Professor
he
2 soundtrack.
yeah, this shit is incredible. It's
I only know
so
Hey
good.
Poppy,
So I mean like
Poppy and the Janet song.
there's a LL Cool J song near the end of that soundtrack where every single curse is censored by some sort of sound effect, and the one that always gets me is like there's like is like a sound of shattered glass to one of them.
Huh.
I don't I can't put it into
I'm
words.
gonna check that out now once we get off this call. Like
You
I'm gonna
gotta find it.
Spotify. Hopefully, it's on
They
Spotify.
they do have it. I went and checked a couple of days ago. They do have it still. Like I got the CD somewhere in my crib. Yeah, like that. It's like that's got like it's got Music Soul Child's big song on it. It's got Janet's doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
It's got Missing You by K Star on it. Like it's the album is it's just nothing but hits, especially for like a early 2000s kid like me. Like that's I was listening to that a lot. But speaking of early times, I want to do a brief run of your viewing history before we jump into music and John Singleton and journalism shit. So Tom, what's the first movie experience you can remember having
All
ever?
right.
It could be at the theater, it could be at your cousin's house.
The the thing that like I've been told was the first movie experience was my parents took me to see E.T. when I was like 3. And I
Classic.
don't remember that, but like my aunt I think came with us, and she would say how I was like I'd run underneath the seat every time E.T. came out. But when I think of like being a kid and like watching movies, it's so like my like best friend in like elementary school, like my friend John. We're still friends, like very close friends. And he had 2 VCRs, so he would
Hmm,
rent movies and dub them onto. I'm not going to give his last name just in case they're going to.
sure, yeah.
Statute of limitations should be out for
Nah,
the bootleg
protect the
movie,
homie. Yeah,
but
totally.
like he would rent movies and record them on like a blank videotape. So I'd go to his house after school, like in like first grade and second grade, and he had like this massive like cabinet, like library, and he would like I'd give him like a 6 hour blank VHS tape, and he would like put like 2 or 3 movies on there. And like I remember there was one tape that had Return of the Jedi, Clue, and Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Wow,
I was
that's
in
a
like
mix.
Yeah, when I was in like second grade, I would like watch that. I'd watch that tape during the week. Like I'd come home, like go out and play, do my homework, and then like watch a movie. And I had like I had that thing. It's like I still do today. Like I was saying, like I watch Heat all the time. I watch Varsity Blues all the time. Like I remember, like in first grade, I watched the Wizard of Oz. Like I taped it off television, and I would watch the Wizard of Oz all the time. And then it was like West Side Story and The Sound of Music because my mother loved those movies, and she was cool with me watching it. And then like a year later, it's like, oh, I'm watching Ferris Bueller's Day Off and like
Yeah.
Clue. But like movie theaters, like going to the actual theater, like the thing that like stands, like I mentioned before, like when I was in college, I would go like, I purposely like would not have classes on Fridays so I could like go to the movies in the morning and then like go work a late shift. Like I used to work at Gap in college. I like from like 2 to 11 shift, and I'd like go see like an 11 o'clock movie and then like go to work because I wanted to see like everything that came out.
My fault. Sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to shout out the Real Notes Patreon one time. For as little as $5 a month, you get exclusive goodies like video of every interview, 2-day early access to every interview, an invite to the Real Notes Discord server, exclusive access to the Real Talk Movie Night archive, and early pre-sale links for all live events. If you want to give a little more, you get other exclusives like retro 60-second movie reviews and monthly 90-minute workshops with me, where we can discuss whatever creative questions or projects you might have going on. Head over to patreon.com/realnotes. That's REELNOTES to join right now. I repeat, all videos will only be available on the Patreon. Thanks for listening. Shout out to my patrons. Now let's get back to talking.
But like a movie going experience, like in the theater, that like just stands out to me was I remember in 7th grade, a girl in our class had a birthday party, and she had us all go see Wayne's World in the theater. And this is like Astoria Theater on Steinway and like 30th Avenue, the UA, United Artists Theater. And I get there with my little friend, and we're like, let's see if we can go see The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. You know, and we went to go see The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. I don't know, somehow we got into it. And then we met up with everybody afterwards who saw Wayne's World. And I love how like the movies are just like this, like the theater experience. Like you asked just about movie, but I love the whole like theater experience, how it was just like one of those things where that's like where you'd go with your friends. Like a year or so later, I remember we went to, it was like 9 of us. It was like 5 guys and like 5 girls or whatever, 5 and 4. I don't know. It was just like a huge mix. We went to go see Jurassic Park, and then we snuck in to see a little bit of Cliffhanger. And then we snuck into like Last Action Hero. And then we like leave the theater and we run into like our science teacher, and like we pile in her car, like stuff like that. Like I associate those stories like with the movies, like,
right.
Because like every time like I see Cliffhanger on cable, I'm like, oh my God, remember that time and like around the 8th grade graduation where like me and like all our, all the kids from our class, like we went to go see that. So yeah, like I like now I'm like more of a music head. Like I always obviously listen to music, but like in the 90s, like when I was like like the art form, I guess the one that I was like the most obsessed with was the movies. Like I subscribed to, like I bought The Source and I bought Vibe and I bought Rolling Stone, but like I subscribed to Entertainment Weekly. I subscribed to Premiere. Like I was so up on like what's coming up, what's coming out. Like when Rosewood, like I remember when Rosewood got pushed to February. It was supposed to come out like Oscar season in the fall of '96, and they had to push it. I mean, I learned, while reporting the book that it got pushed because the score was Wynton Marsalis did the score, and it just didn't work. Like it was it was great music. Like it actually won a Pulitzer, I think, like when he released it as an album, like a year or two later. But it just didn't fit like the scenes, and they had to
Yeah.
like push it back because they paid John Williams like $1 million to come in at the last minute and do it. But like I remember like being a kid and being like knowing enough about the business and being like, shit, Rose was coming out in February. It's not gonna make money and it's not gonna get Oscars. Like this shit's gonna flop. And so I knew about like I was obsessed with movies, like with not just the movies, but like the business. And that's what was so cool about working on this book was like talking to people about like the movie industry. Like I interviewed like
Yeah.
a million like studio executives and all that, and it was like learning about what was going on back then. And then of course we would transition to like off the record conversations about like the studios today. Like it was the funniest thing about that was I had two different executives who I spoke to who referred to Netflix as first draft studios. And I use that
Word.
now. They're like, why do you think these people go there? You know, they give the big check and then they leave them alone. Like there's no development process. Like that, like, why do you think Netflix movies suck? Like, because
Yeah.
like they're movies that like nobody that the studios won't do because they're not good enough to come out to do yet. And they need to get to go through the development process.
Right. Yet they want their movies to be recognized for Oscars, and they're like super like Netflix is anybody who knows Netflix is super obsessed with being recognized by any sort of awards affiliated thing. And there was a period of time they wanted to open their own theaters. I don't know if they still want
I
to do
remember that.
that.
Yeah.
Like yeah,
We'll
I
see what
mean
happens
like
now. It's funny because like I don't know who to root for because I mean I actually I do know who to root for now after yesterday when it turns out that like Kushner is involved with the Paramount bid, even though we already know
yeah,
that Ellison is like hand in glove with Trump. But it's like, do I want the people
yeah.
who are aligned with this government, or do I want like someone who might kill the theaters? Like it's almost like
Yeah.
a Sophie's choice. It's like they both it sucks. Like either whoever wins, it's
We
we
lose, yeah. Definitely. It's rough. I mean, like obviously I'm a big proponent of the movie theater experience, and I'm gonna go as long as they're still around, and I'm gonna fight tooth and nail if they ever leave. But I mean like you're preaching to the fucking choir with everything you just said. Like especially I wanted to touch on the sneaking into theaters aspect because I mean, like anybody worth their salt has probably snuck into a movie or two in their life. Like I remember me and the homies we went to go see. We saw for some reason we saw Michael Moore's Capitalism: A Love Story when it came
okay
out, and then we used that opportunity to sneak in and go see Zombieland right after the
okay.
Woody Harrelson Jesse Eisenberg movie. We did that quite a few times. Well, that one happened in Jersey, and then we did it a couple times in the city at a theater I won't name. I mean, fuck it, it was the AMC Empire 25.
In Times Square, that is the
Yeah,
best theater for sneaking into movies.
it's it, wa-
That
it was so easy at the time.
oh
We
simple.
saw
And
what did
especially
we
now that you
see?
have like the Fandango app, like where you
Yeah,
can check, like you can, like I used to be like with the
yeah.
newspaper, like calculating, 2 hours and 10 minutes
Yeah, right. You really
going
had to
to
do
the
the math in
movie.
a crazy way.
Yeah, the last movie, the last time I did the double dip, this is fun. It was a long time ago, but like I saw Watchmen,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
and that was a long ass movie too. It
Shout
was
out.
like
Yeah, yeah. Movie's like almost 3 hours.
yeah.
It's great.
And then I snuck into from the beginning. I think it was State of Play, that Russell Crowe,
Wow.
Ben
Never thought about
Affleck
that again.
movie.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it,
yeah,
like
yeah.
Watchmen had been out for a minute, for like a month or so, I think. And like I wanted to see State of Play just because like any journalism movie, I'm just like,
Yeah,
you
of course.
I need to watch it. But like when I was in college, and I was like saying earlier about like trying to take off work on Friday, trying not to have classes on Fridays, then it evolved into like no work on Fridays. Um, I remember it was like 2000, and I snuck. I would, oh my god, like shitty movies too. Like I think I saw like the Jim Carrey Grinch, and then I
Hmm.
snuck into this Arnold movie, The Sixth Day, where like this is
Yeah.
how like this is like post way post peak. This is how bad it was. Like Michael Rappaport was like his like buddy in the movie. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
remember that for some reason.
I did a Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon,
Classic.
Quills double feature once. And I was at
Wow.
the AMC 25. Quills was like it was supposed to be like the big Oscar movie that year. It was like Jeffrey Rush playing the Marquis de Sade, I think. I haven't seen it since it came out. It was one of those movies where it was like I remember liking it when it came out, and then like I never saw it again. I never thought of it again. Crouching Tiger, of course, was great.
Yeah.
But the double feature, like people are missing out on that. It's like almost like a thrill. Like now I know why people shoplift sometimes.
Yeah, man, it's real. Yeah, because like the last time we did it in that way, we saw Alice in Wonderland when it came out, the Tim Burton one
Yeah, that was
in
like 10 years
IMAX,
ago.
and then we went upstairs and saw Bad Lieutenant Port of Call, New Orleans,
Oh my
the
god.
Nick Cage movie, which
Oh my
like yeah, because like we were all like the nerdy cinephiles who just wanted to go see like all the like we would do the Alice in Wonderland and then go do like the thing because it was my birthday and I had wanted to go see Fantastic Mr. Fox, but everybody else wanted to go see that, so we went to go see it, and I wound up leaving maybe about a quarter of the way through Bad Lieutenant because I was pressed. I can admit it. 10 years later, I was pressed because people wanted to go see a different movie than the one I wanted to go see, which is
god.
fine. Like like it's all good. I own
I
up
mean,
to it. I'm
Nicolas
sorry.
Cage
You know.
or puppets. You know what I mean? What are
Yeah.
you gonna do? Nicolas Cage or
And like thinking, I
I'm
mean,
not a
like
big Wes Anderson fan, so
I
like
feel it. I do love Fantastic Mr. Fox, but I mean like Bad Lieutenant is the better movie. I love Port of Call New Orleans. I went back and watched it when I wasn't being a dickhead. Movie's amazing. It's like genuinely one of my favorite movies. I haven't seen it in a minute, but I love it. It's great. It's so different from the original Bad Lieutenant too, which I saw for the first time with a homie last year actually.
Oh wow.
I, I,
Also,
um,
Dead
um,
Lieutenant at an age I probably shouldn't have seen it. Like it was like right when like my Blockbuster opened, which was
yeah,
like my freshman year of high school, and I remember Bad Lieutenant was one of the first movies. That was the other thing too that like about
it's a
movies
crazy
like
movie.
when a Blockbuster opened near me, it was my the beginning of like my freshman year of high school. Like I would like every week I'd rent like two movies, and that's
Hmm.
I had this one like all through high school. Like I bought this one book, this Leonard
Excuse me.
Maltin cinema book, like where it was like the greatest movies like ever made, and I had
Yeah.
like 1,000 reviews in it, and I remember like going through the entire book and just circling the movies that he gave 3.5 and 4 stars to, and being like, I'm gonna try to watch as many of these as possible. And like all through high school, I watched like all those movies from like the late 60s and 70s, you know, like the golden age of like from like Easy Rider to Raging Bull, basically, like the book.
Yep.
And that was like my film school, I guess. I mean, I didn't do anything with it other than write about movies. Like it's not like I was, you know, like what Singleton did, which was like watching movies and like learning from them. Uh,
Yeah.
like the way a producer would listen to old records and like figure out like what to sample from it. But that was like a huge education when it came to movies, which is like, you know, walking through the aisles of Blockbuster and knowing that like I can spend like $6 or whatever. That's what it cost back then. It was like $3, $2.99 a movie with tax. And I love those. So like all those old movies back then.
So, I mean, that's a great segue into my next question, which is I like to think of this next one as a capital M movie, the one that really kind of struck you and connected with you in like an emotional, artistic, or spiritual way, like more than just the 90 minutes of pure entertainment. Or it could be or it could be an example of like 90 minutes of pure entertainment that was so transcendent, excuse me, that it went the other way. But yeah, I mean, like the capital M movie, like what's the first one of those you can remember?
Wow. I mean, I love Star Wars as a kid.
Yeah.
I hate Star Wars now. Like I can't even watch the movies. I think it's mostly because of like the fandom around it, like how
Yep.
it's so. I hate using the word toxic, but like
That's textbook definition
I
toxic.
can't think of
They're awful.
another word to describe it.
They're
Like
awful.
these like grown up like babies, these big babies who are like 40 and 50 years old and it's like my childhood, my childhood.
Yeah, it's like shut up, bro.
Oh my god! So like, I mean, the movie sucked. Like, I feel like the
Yeah.
three recent ones were terrible. Like I actually like the prequels now almost just because I'm like a contrarian and like a troll. Like, there's a part of my personality where it's like, Phantom Menace was good. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of like shit that I got like obsessed with like after I was a kid. Like, and I'm going to like Terminator 2. Like, I remember recording that. Like, I was away that summer, in 91. That was the same summer Boyz N The Hood came out.
Yep.
And I remember I had to go to Greece for like 5 weeks or so because like last minute because like my grandmother was dying and my mother had to be there for dialysis and all that. So like I was like in Greece for like, and for some reason my dad and my sister like stayed in America. But I was there for like 5 weeks. And then I remember coming back and going straight to like a baseball camp in Williamsport, like where they have the Little League World Series. So I was like
Yeah.
away for that entire summer. I missed like so many incredible movies. Like summer 91 was like a crazy, like you have Boyz N The Hood, you have Terminator 2, you have Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, you have Point Break. Um, I think Jungle Fever came out that summer too.
I'm pretty sure it did. Yeah.
Soap Dish, which was like a great, I remember seeing Soap Dish in the theater actually. But like when T2, I missed T2 because I was away. And I remember ordering it on pay-per-view and recording it like during that Christmas break. And I just was like, I thought it was like the most incredible thing ever. Like I thought like I was totally obsessed with T2. Like not like the Shermanator, I guess, from American Pie where it was like quoting it all the time, but like I was totally obsessed with T2. Like spiritually, like, gosh, I don't know. I think like I connected more with like music that way almost than movies. But like trying to think of like what I like as a teenager, like what really hit me, like going to like Blockbuster and seeing like those classics too. Like I remember One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest like really fucked me up.
It's
It
a crazy movie, man.
made me scared of going crazy. It made me scared of like being held against my will. It made me scared of lobotomies. um, I remember reading the book afterwards too. I watched the movie first before reading the book. Like Cuckoo's Nest, like fucked me up as a kid. Clockwork Orange kind of like fucked me up a
Yeah.
little.
Those are like classic fuck you up movies for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was probably I wonder like what I took from it. You know what I mean? You know, it's one of those other movies where it's like I probably liked it for the wrong reasons. Movies, Fight Club. I saw
Yeah.
Fight Club when I was 20, and I was in college, and I probably took the wrong message from Fight Club in the beginning, and I don't even like it as much anymore.
Yeah.
Like I love Fincher. Like Fincher is to me like I think maybe my favorite, even though I going back to Netflix, I'm not into his Netflix movies at all. Like The Killer and like the black and white one with Gary Oldman, Mank. Yeah,
Yeah. No.
like, Gone Girl to me though.
Yeah.
Gone Girl is like, you know, people doing these lists like the best movies of the 21st century, and like Gone Girl has to be out. Like I think I like Gone Girl better than like Social Network. I know people love Social Network.
Yeah.
Like Gone Girl is it's, I remember a friend of mine not liking it, and I'm like, watch it again.
Yeah.
But now think of it as a comedy. It's not a thriller. Just you're supposed to laugh like at every single line. And I love that. And like Fincher, like going back to the movie experience stuff, The Game was the first movie that I saw by myself in the theater. And that's like kind of like a transformative moment for people who always wanted to go to the movies, but like their friends were annoyed, like movies again, movies again, movies again. And like, I remember I went away to college. I went to Albany, SUNY Albany for like 2 years before coming back to New York. And I had friends from high school who went there. And, but we weren't like close enough where it was like, hey, let's go to the movies. And I remember like The Game came out like a week or two after I got to campus. And I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to go watch it by myself. You know, like I don't care if people see me, you know, they think I'm a loser for going to the movies by myself. But like going the first time you go to the movies by yourself, it's like liberating. It's like, oh shit,
Yeah.
now all the time. I don't need to like be dependent on anybody. Because when you're a teenager, it's like I was saying before, it's a social experience. It's like, so even though like going to the movies, it shouldn't, I mean, you don't want to talk during the movie, right? Like you want to talk about it afterwards, but like going to see the game in the movie theater. And then, I mean, I love that movie too. It's like, I know it didn't do well. I remember like at the box office and the reviews were meh, but it's up there for like my favorite Fincher movies. And, but for
Yeah.
me, I always, when I think of when I come across that movie, it's like, oh shit, that's the movie I saw by myself in like the multiplex mall in Albany for like, the first time
Yeah.
I went to the movies by myself.
Damn. Wow. I wish I could remember the first movie I saw by myself, but that's a special moment. Like that's really like and yeah, like it is liberating to go see a movie by yourself and be like, oh, like this doesn't have to be a thing where it's like if one person isn't here with me, then I can't go do it. Like that's why I am where I'm at now. Like literally, like if I didn't have plans tonight, I would probably be scrolling through my AMC app, like let me see what's playing, and I'll just go catch something at like 8, 9, 10 o'clock. I live close enough that it's not like it's like I blink and I'm there at this point. So like I totally get that. Like it's a great routine. I love it. I feel like that's the house for me. Like if it's not a show, the movies. Like those are definitely my two favorite out the house activities at this point. But you've mentioned it quite a few times, so I want to dive into. I want to do something similar with music. When did music become capital M music for you? Like not even in terms of you wanting to like write about it, but just
Okay.
being fascinated by music.
Well, I have an older sister. Full disclosure, like she's born in 75, I'm born in 79.
Word.
So like my first memories of music is like her putting me on to like basically what were like the pop hits of like the early mid 80s, which I always say like the 80s had like the best pop music, you know? Um, so like Michael Jackson Thriller, like we had that vinyl where you open it up and he's with the tiger on the inside.
Yeah, man.
Thriller, like to me was like Thriller was my thriller, as they say. Like, like I remember listening to that on, the record player. So it was like Thriller and Cyndi Lauper and Prince and Madonna. It's funny, my Spotify rap, like I listened to like Madonna's greatest hits was my number one album was Mary J. Blige, My Life, just because I got kind of obsessed with it earlier this year and I was listening to it every
Yeah,
day. But
that was
like when
great.
I do work, um, like when I was writing the book, I was listening to like a lot of jazz and like, oh, a mutual friend, Jerry Barrow. He
Shout out to Jerry.
shout out to Jerry. He has this playlist of like 70s like funk and soul stuff that gets sampled a lot by rap, by rappers. And it's like a massive like 9-hour playlist or something. I was listening to that like all the time when I was writing the book. But so yeah, like I grew up with the pop hits of the 80s and then eventually we got MTV when I was like 9, I think it was. So Guns N' Roses right there was
Mhm.
like holy shit, And then of course with MTV you have Yo MTV Raps. I remember the first song like ever liking like rap song where I was just like this is like really really good. So what you're saying by EPMD.
Yeah.
Like, that was like the first song that was like holy shit, this is fantastic. But like for me, like a moment where music became like the capital M was I referenced it earlier when I went to Greece that summer in
Yeah.
'91. Um, I had a like so both of my parents from Greece, so like I would stay with like my father's parents like for a few weeks, and then it was with my mother's family. And my mother's family is in this like village, like 5,000 feet up in the mountains, where there's like 100 people there during the winter, but in the summer, like all the kids show up there. All the people who grew up there, and they bring their kids, and that was like my summers, like up until I was like 16, really. Like we would go there, and my cousin, who's older than me, was there that summer. He grew up in Flushing, so and he was like steeped in rap. Like he used to like go break dance. Like he's like older than me. He would go break dancing like by the Main Street station in Flushing, by the seven line. And I was in Greece before he was. Like he showed up in like late July or something, and he brings like mixtapes with him. And again, I was already listening to rap, you know what I mean? But it was just basically like what was on MTV at the time. Like I had already bought actually the last NWA album, whose title I can't say,
Mm-hmm.
which is like a 12-year-old should not be listening to that, but I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he brings this mixtape and it's got like Leaders of the New School, Case of the PTA, and like one or two other songs on it. It has like, I know the Tribe album, Low End Theory, came out I think in like August or September that year, but it had like
Yeah.
one or two Tribe songs on there. KMD, like it's funny whenever like I joke around about like people thinking like, what do you know about rap? Like I'm thinking in my head like, motherfucker, I was listening to KMD in '91. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I knew MF Doom was in 1991.
Yeah.
So like that era, like that tape, like, he listened to like Stretch and Bobbito too, so like I'm sure there were like others. There was oh god no, Beat Nuts was the next summer. But anyway, like that, like listening to those songs, like the tapes that he brought, and then I come back home and now I'm in 7th grade and like, 91, 92, you have like, Low End Theory, and you have like the Cypress Hill album, and you have like, Naughty by Nature, and like you're socializing more and you're like hanging out more after school. And like, that's like the soundtrack almost like Black Sheep, Choice is Yours, Strobolite, Honeys, like it was like that 7th grade time, like 91 into 92 was so I was like listening to like rap before that, but like that's when I became like obsessed kind of like with
Mm-hmm.
music. And Guns was still like I still it was funny, like you remember like Axl Rose used to wear like a Public Enemy t-shirt or like an
Yeah.
NBA hat or something like that, and it was like that was like me, kind of like my taste, you know what I mean? Like, and then
Mm-hmm.
like around like, and then the whole grunge thing kind of came up, and like I can't listen to Nirvana anymore because I feel like I listened to too much Nirvana in 7th grade. But like the soundtrack of like 91, 92, 93, like Deep Cover coming out,
Yeah.
like all that,
Big soundtrack.
like
Yeah.
Redman, like the first Redman album, like me and my friends were like obsessed with that too. Um, so that was like kind of like the moment for me, and then of course, you go on and I mean, you could spend all day like talking about like the albums from like 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98. Like, but like it was that moment. I could always point back. It was like that summer with my cousin where he brought like a tape filled with like Tribe and LONS and KMD. Like it was crazy for me.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's like looking back on it, that's really such a it's a definitive moment for the genre and for so many people. Yeah, I mean, like that was the era that I was going back to when I was really doing like my digging. Once I really started to like get into like the history of this shit when I was in high school. I mean, I grew up listening to shit on the radio,
Mhm.
and I mean, like I'm black. Like this shit is just kind of like around, just like generally. Like I love like Vince Staples has this incredible quote I think in like during like a Breakfast Club interview where he's just like, I mean, like if you're black, it's just like kind of there unless you're like so separated from it for whatever reason. I mean, like my dad was playing, like he has his favorites from every era, so like that was always just there. And then like I'd be listening to the radio. I was big into like snap music and like everything coming out the South. I was like a huge Ti fan, huge Jeezy fan, big on Lil Jon and the East Side Boys. I remember like I mean E40's obviously from out in the Bay, but like my Ghetto Report Card comes out. Tell Me When to Go was a huge hit. Lil Jon, produced that song, so it was just funny how
It's
all
funny you
those things
mentioned
kind of crisscrossed.
those
Yeah,
Southern artists. Like
yeah,
I was mad East Coast bias.
yeah. I
Like,
get it.
oh,
I get it.
I was such the stereotypical like. And it was funny because like my first job out of college was at the Source, and I
Mm,
was just like people used to give me shit there because like I just liked what I liked, and it's not that I wouldn't give stuff a chance. It was just that like I couldn't. It took me a minute to see like Ti. Like one of my coworkers like kind of like forced me to like view Ti. Like the first album, what was it? I'm Serious. Was that the first
I'm
one?
serious. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like how could I front on that? Like, it's one of those things where it's like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
what
yeah.
was the matter with me? You know, there's some people who I still like can't like Jeezy. Like, I like Jeezy, but like
Hmm.
he doesn't. It doesn't hit me the way it hits most people. Like, for some reason, like I like Ti. Probably out of the three, you know, the Ti, Jeezy, Wayne. You know, the what are they called? Like they were like the new Biggie, Jay Z, Nas. Like
Hmm.
I Ti was my dude. Like that was my favorite
Yeah,
rapper of that from that region really at that time.
yeah. He was like at in his prime. He was incredible. Yeah,
Real quick, I had a
yeah,
Ti like a T. When I think of Ti, like this was before Urban Legend came out. This was in
yeah.
like a few months or so before, and he shows up to the source offices like in a mink coat. It wasn't even that cold out,
Hmm.
and he's like 4 foot nothing. You know what I mean? He's like
Yeah. Tiny dude.
diminutive, and it was like, holy shit, this guy is a fucking star. Like he was already like a big rapper, but it was like his star power was crazy. You know what I mean? His charisma was crazy, and like it was so obvious. Like once the music, he played us. I remember the album, and it was like, oh my god, this guy's gonna be huge. He was already
Yeah,
big, but it was like, oh my god, this guy is like a cover artist. He's gonna be like the biggest rapper in the industry soon. I always think
yeah.
of, I always think of that moment when I listen to Ti.
That's so fire. I mean, just like having that moment with somebody like him at that time. I was just listening to What They Do like a couple weeks ago.
Is that the BG? That's the BG
Yeah,
record.
I
That's like
love
my
that
favorite
fucking
song.
song. That song is so fire,
That's like
man.
my favorite Ti song. Yeah.
That's one of my favorites ever. Yeah, like King was the big album for me. I was really into that album a ton. Yeah, he's great. Yeah, like I go back to that era. Yeah, because like of course like being from the East Coast, of course like G Unit, Dipset, like I was there for all of that. But like hearing stuff on TV, my ear would always be going down south just because like that's what it was. Interesting time. Um, but since we're at the source, um, the next thing I usually ask is when did music become or like I mean when did music and journalism, yeah, become more than just like a hobby for you and you knew that this was gonna be your vocation and the thing you devote your life to for some time.
It's funny because like I didn't really want to do like music journalism. Like I wanted, first of all, I wanted to be I was delusional, whereas like I was like 17, 18, and like I still, kids are like, I want to be the second baseman for the New York Yankees.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
was like 17, 18, and I still thought that I could be a baseball player. Like I was on my high school team. Like I hit over 400 like every year. And then I was like, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to make the baseball team. And, I go up to SUNY Albany and they just go D1, and the shortstop was like 6'1", like a buck 80. And I am not. And,
Hmm.
was like, I play left field and I'm like 5'9", like a buck 70. I was like, and so that was like the end of my baseball career. So I literally thought I was gonna be a baseball player like up until I was like 18 years old. Just because like I could hit, like I was I could it was funny, I could play like every position, but hitting was my thing. But anyway,
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I think I'm gonna be a teacher. So that was one of the reasons why I transferred from Albany to NYU, was because Albany didn't really have a teaching program at that time, and NYU did. Other than besides the fact that like I hated being in Albany and it was freezing and every day was gray and it was like
Hmm.
Albany. Um, but I go here, I go and I'm like, I take a journalism class, like so I transferred to NYU, and now this is like the fall of 2000, and I'm taking a journalism class, like reporting 101 basically. But I'm like, the plan is to be a teacher, and I go do student teaching one day at I think it was on like 66th and like by Lincoln Square. I think it's MLK High School. And I do
Hmm.
one day of student teaching, and I'm just like, I freeze in front of the classroom. I'm like stammering, and the kids are like kind of clowning me. And I'm just like, fuck this, man. Like, I can't, I don't think I can do this. So, like, I go right back to campus and I meet with my college advisor, and I'm like, yo, man, make my journalism minor a major, keep the history major, make my education major a minor. And I was in a journalism class, and like it was like a week later was the 2000 election, and we had an assignment which was go to do a news story on the election, but you can't just be like a recap. Like you have to go report. So like this was the year that Hillary Clinton was running for Senate in New York against this
Yeah.
guy Rick Blasio, and everybody in the class was like trying to go to Hillary's headquarters, and I'm like, there is no way in hell you guys are gonna get in. So I like RSVP to cover it for Rick Lazio's campaign, and I got there and I interviewed him. I interviewed like the campaign manager. I interviewed like the supporters, and
Yeah.
it was an early night. Like as soon as the returns came in, it was over. So then I had to like watch the horror that was like Bush Gore that night. So anyway, I get like an A+ on the assignment, and my teacher just basically like blew smoke up my ass, and he was like called me up in front of the classroom and was like, "This is what you need to do." So I was just like, "Yo, I want to go into journalism now."
Word.
So then like I get super into it. I start writing for the school paper. Senior year, I have to get an internship. Now the problem is I had found like the best college job ever. I was a publicity and marketing intern at Buena Vista Pictures, which
Oh,
is
wow.
Disney is now. Yeah.
Yep.
So like when I
Hmm.
say like Wes Anderson, like I saw the Royal Tenenbaums like 30 times. Like my job was like, it's a job that no longer exists. Like I'd get like a stack of 10 newspapers every morning, and I'd have to go through them and cut out like any mention of the Walt Disney Company, of any movie that Disney had out in theaters. And this was like the time of like Pearl Harbor and like Bubble Boy and like it was summer of '01. It was like for like
Yeah.
60 months. It was from like July '01 to like September, October '02. And I was like, I want to be a journalist, but like I'm getting paid like it's a college job in like 2001, and I'm getting like $15 an hour. And like with overtime, I'm working like 35, 40 hours a week. And I'm writing for the school paper. So like, but I need to get an internship. And I get an internship at Premiere Magazine, but I'm working at Disney. So I can't intern for Premiere Magazine because I don't want to give up my job where I'm making like probably more money than I was making like a few years ago,
Hmm.
like doing the morning clips. So I have to intern somewhere that doesn't cover movies as much. I intern at the Source. I go in for an interview at the Source. This is a funny story. I get into it in the acknowledgments in the book. The day I go in for an interview at the Source was December 4th, 2001, which, if you know about rap and rap history, is the day that was the day Nas dropped Ether. And I go in for my interview. I'm interviewing with Kim Osorio, who was then I think the executive editor of the Source. And
Hmm.
I come out of the interview, and I go into the hallway into the offices, and they had like these like six cubicles, and they called it, and when I started working there, I sat there. They called it the projects, and everybody was just going nuts about like Flex playing or whoever was playing Ether.
Yeah.
And I was just like, holy shit, this is incredible. Like, I want to do this, so like I interned there, and that's basically like how like my journalism career started. Like I interned at the Source, and I started freelancing. So I interned there in the spring of 2002 semester. Like that was my last year at NYU. And then I just like hung around. That's where I met Jerry. Jerry was the music editor at the time. And
Yep.
he like, I kind of like I studied Jerry's articles. Like he was, like I loved his profiles. He wrote this like Keith Murray profile back then, which was like
You told me
incredible.
about that.
Um,
Yeah.
he was like such a wordsmith, kind of like his writing was like really slick, and like I kind of aspired to like do what he did, really. And like, or there were other writers then too, like Jermaine Hall was like the features editor, and
Hmm.
I still text with him all the time, like, and he was another one who like I kind of wanted to be like, to write like. There was this dude Adam Matthews, who a Canadian guy who we got close, and he was like a great features writer. He was like a great reporter as well. So it's like you go in there, you're like 22, 23 years old, and it's like there are all these so much to learn from everybody. Like even people who I kind of like didn't like like who I won't name, like I still learned shit from them. So that was like when like the whole journalism thing like kind of took off for me. Like meaning like not took off for me, but it was like I got kind of obsessed with it. Like I always read magazines, and it was funny. I mentioned it before, but like by this point now in the late '90s, I was like early 2000s, I was like really into like Rolling Stone and Vibe. It was funny because I went into the interview with the Source, and like I kind of like stopped reading the Source as much because I just didn't feel like it was as good as Rolling Stone or Vibe. Um, I felt like it kind of like it started falling off a little bit, and but like I was got obsessed with features writing. Like I immediately got like a GQ, Vanity Fair, Esquire subscriptions, and it was like just studying profiles, studying like reported investigative stories. Like I remember like that was a summer where I remember I moved into, it was like '03. It was like when I first started working there, and I moved into like a shack basically in Williamsburg on like 6th and Berry. It
Right.
was a converted garage. And I had like two roommates who I met off Craigslist, and I didn't have a TV. And I remember that summer, all I would do is like, I remember going out to bars and watching a lot of baseball and like sitting in Washington Square Park until like the sun went down, because the source offices were in Union Square, and I'd
Right.
walk to Washington Square Park, and I would just sit there and like read like magazines. It was almost like training. Like I get into in the book how Singleton would talk about like how you got to watch a movie a day to learn how to be a director. You got to figure out like what's the purpose of this shot, what's the purpose of that. Like it's like studying, and that's like what I did with like feature writing. I would read like there was one point where I had subscriptions to like 10 magazines, and it was just all about, you know, what works, what do I like, what can I bring to the table kind of. So
Yeah, totally.
like I got like '03, like when I first started working at the Source and I had like no TV, like that was when I got kind of like obsessed with like getting good, I guess, or like trying to.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
funny I say that because like I feel like I can't read any, like the Kobe Bryant story that was like 2013. That is like the limit. That is like the earliest story I can read. Like anything before that, I'm just like even then, like even that story, I
I
don't.
get it.
I think it's a good story, but like the writing, I'm like, oh my god, I could have done this so much better. I could have said this so much better. But yeah, but like that, it's funny like looking back now as like a middle aged person, and like I was just so lucky to have like so many good journalists, good writers, people who like you can talk about the craft with, talk about music with. Like those music conversations were like incredible, like back then.
Yeah. I can imagine. I mean, like Jerry's my OG, so he's told me so many stories, and just like from the Source days, Scratch Magazine days, and like he and I worked together at Watch Loud, so like
Right.
that's like yeah, yeah. So like he and I have our own stories,
You know,
but
you know
like
what's funny
sorry,
when you like connecting it to back to movies, like you ever seen
yeah,
the movie
yeah, yeah.
Shattered Glass?
I've seen no, actually I haven't seen Shattered
Oh,
Glass.
you have, so Shattered Glass is about like
I'm gonna
this
add that to my list right
disgraced,
now.
this like disgraced journalist, this guy Stephen Glass, who was like the star writer at the New Republic, like in the mid like 97, 98, and then he turns out he's a fabulous. He's making shit up, and it is to me like the best book, the best movie about like magazine journalism. Like there's like one scene where like these two other editors are talking, and like they close the door and they're like, you know, Steven's work, he's so funny. You don't do funny. You're more of like a storyteller than like a stylist, some shit like that. And
Yeah,
then they're like, oh my God, he's going to double his salary freelancing. And like those conversations like always happen like behind closed doors. Like, you know, like when you go into like someone's office and you close the door and you sit on their couch and you're like, yo, what the fuck's going on with this story? Or like, yo, that writer, like they're blowing up. Like, what's going on? Like, you know, it was just so funny. And it came out around that time when I was working at the Source, and it was just
hmm
so spot on about like the meetings, like the way people pitch stories in meetings, and how you're rewarded for being entertaining in meetings. You know, like if you could crack a joke that would like make everybody laugh, like they'd be more likely to, you know, assign you the story that you want to do. You know, you could bullshit
right.
your way into an assignment really that you want. So Yeah, you got to see Shattered Glass if you're like
I
into like
I just
that,
added it to my list.
like that whole culture. It
Yeah,
was,
for sure. Yeah, totally. I'm very into it. And Hayden Christensen, Anakin Skywalker's in it. I'm in.
yo,
Um,
he's good. He's like actually good in it because like the character
yeah,
is like wormy and like anxious, and it's almost like how like I don't think Ben Affleck is a great actor, but like his deficiencies as an actor make him perfect for the role in Gone Girl, where he's
yeah,
this just like sketchy dude that you just can't kind of buy into, you know,
yeah,
and like
yeah,
he's
yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
And
That's
Hayden's the
fire.
same way in Shattered Glass.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, I'm very in. It sounds yeah, like you, I'm into anything like journalism, movies, like you tell me it's a movie about journalism in some aspect, I'm gonna watch it at some point. But I mean like you've of course written so many different things about so many different people and activities and facets of culture, but you've written a lot about Singleton. Like even before the book happened, you've
Right.
interviewed him. You've like he's yeah, I it feels accurate to say that he's kind of your muse. If like maybe I don't know. I don't
I
want to
don't
speak for
know.
you,
I don't know
obviously,
about that.
but you
I
know,
found him endlessly like fascinating, you know,
yeah,
like I rooted for him like when I was a kid, like even though like I spoke to a lot of people obviously for the book, and you know obviously I can't relate, you know, being like a white guy from New York, like when
sure,
people talked about like I saw John and that made me believe I can make movies, you know what I mean?
yeah,
um Obviously like that's like I can't really, you know, that's not my experience, but like the fact that like he was so young and like it was one of those things where it was funny because like when I was a kid, like I thought he was like so cool. Like you saw him on TV and like he was like the young guy with like, you know, Ice Cube, and like that was the reason why I was into Boys in the Hood, was like I loved Ice Cube, and like I
of
see the
course,
trailer,
yeah,
the Ice Cube's in it, and I'm like, holy shit, like I need to see this movie. But it and it's funny. Then you report on the book, and it's like there's this one quote that stays with me, where it was like, John wasn't cool. John made cool movies, but he was not cool. Like he was kind of a dork. Like, and up until like he was like, even when he was older, like he was like socially awkward. There was like that fine line between like charisma and like weird, I guess.
word,
That's how a lot of people. One of the people described him, which was I think I used in the book. They were like he was like Kanye in like 02, 03. Like that was
mm,
his persona at USC. Um, he was just like, this is gonna happen. I'm gonna be this, and he kind of like willed it into existence, spoke it into existence. Like people were tired of hearing about him, how he was gonna blow up. You
yeah,
know, I'm gonna be in the Academy. I'm gonna be at the. You're gonna see me at the Academy Awards one day. Like he would tell that to people in like '88 at his in film school, and they would scoff and like be like, all right, whatever, man. But yeah, like I found his career, like I followed it from obviously from the beginning, and like I mentioned, like you know the EW subscription,
yep,
and following the business, like when Higher Learning came out in January, I remember obviously I went to go see it. Like I think it was like opening weekend. It was like MLK weekend. It came out, and I remember like rooting for it to do well at the box office. You know what I mean? Like I was like, I want John Singleton movies to do well. I want I want him to succeed. It was just because like I loved Boys so much, and like there was something about him. Again, it's probably just being young, and myself being young, where excuse me, where there was excuse me, that was the cold I was talking about. But
felt,
then it was like being in New York, coming back to NYU, and he was filming Shaft in New York in '99, which is when I came back to New York. And just I remember being in the tabloids all the time about the shit that was going. I get into in the book about all the stuff that was going on the set, like the battles with Scott Rudin, the battles over like him having a crew with like 125 people and only 6 of them were black, whereas Singleton famously had like 90-95% black crews. You know, Boys was like 95%. It slowly like diminished, but like
sure,
still
yeah,
Learning was like 80% black, you know? And reading that article, like reading about like the shit that they were accusing him of like, having sex in his trailer with like extras and all that. That was like a big like New York Post, like page 6 article. So like I realized that like, like and then why does he do Too Fast, Too Furious? Why is he doing this? Why is he doing that? Why is he waiting like 5 years to make a follow up to Four Brothers? Like I followed his career like the whole time. And like, I really approached the book from like a point of curiosity, like as a fan, like my favorite parts to report were the industry shit. Like
Yeah.
my favorite chapter in the book is like the time between Higher Learning and Rosewood, where he's trying to find what's his next movie. And this was the first time where he wasn't going to be at Columbia, and he had a pick of like he wasn't the John Singleton of '92, where he was nominated for an Oscar and he was probably like one of the biggest stars. Like obviously like Spielberg and Cameron were like the guys, but like Singleton was like, I mean, it wasn't. It was almost like Tarantino in like '94. You know what I mean? And like, who else like blew up? Like, like whenever like a young filmmaker blows up, like they're everywhere.
Yeah.
But he still had a lot of pull. And going back and like seeing like why he landed on Rosewood was fascinating. And then going back and seeing like the entire road to Shaft, like I love that shit. But like, yeah, my favorite stuff was that period between Higher Learning and Rosewood, where he's like trying to figure out which movie he's going to do. And he's thinking about doing like Makes Me Want to Holler, which was like a biography written by a Washington Post reporter about growing up in Virginia. That would have been like right in his wheelhouse. He was thinking about doing Echo the Dolphin, which was like a Sega video game. That would have been it. And he wanted, but the technology wasn't there. Like it was still pre Toy Story. So like he abandoned that after working on it for a minute. He wanted to do like Luke Cage. He had like he had a draft with his assistant, who is like his really good friend, this guy Joe Doherty, and they had like multiple superheroes in it. They had Shield in it. They had Nick Fury showing up, and like this, the producer just didn't see the vision, and they didn't move forward. He tried to do Black Panther with Wesley.
Yep. Yeah. That I know. Yeah.
And Wesley just totally shitted on Singleton's take. Like Singleton's take was like to set it like in the civil rights era and have it be like a father-son thing. And it wasn't the Black Panther that, we saw like with that Coogler made. It was like a lot more like kind of grounded. He eventually does Rosewood, and like that's the stuff that like I kind of loved. And he's like trying to get his production company off the ground, and he's at this point he's like 26, 27, and he's like mentoring like 23, 24-year-olds. Like I spoke to this guy, Jeffrey Fletcher. He's an Academy Award winning screenwriter.
Yeah.
He wrote Precious, I think. Anyway, like he was an NYU student in like '95, and he did this student film. Forgot what it's called. Anyway, like Singleton saw it, loved it. He thought it was like Woody Allen-ish, you know what I mean? And they signed him, and they tried to expand it into a feature. And Singleton's coming to New York, and he's like hanging out with him. And there's this like one like scene in the book, which is like summer of '95, and Singleton is in New York to like help him work on the screenplay. And like they're just bullshitting in Jeffrey's apartment. And John's like, "Do you see Waterworld yet? Let's go see Waterworld." And like they go to like the theater on 12th and 2nd. It's kind of a shitty theater on 12th Street and 2nd Avenue, and they go see Waterworld. And then they get out of it, and he was supposed to have a meeting, and it gets canceled. He had like a big like cell phone at the time. And then he's like, "Yo, did you see Kids yet? Let's go see Kids. Go check when Kids is playing." And like Jeffrey's like, "I go on Movie Phone or whatever, and Kids is playing at the Angelica." And then they walk from like 12th and 2nd, down to the Angelica, and go see Kids. And it's just so funny. Like that's like some shit that I would have done. You know what I mean?
Word,
like that's
yeah.
Like those are like my favorite like parts of the book. So I just found it like so like the life was crazy, like the career was crazy, like just having reported on Boyz N The Hood, like I did an oral history for King in like 05 or 06, and like that's when I first interviewed Singleton. And it was great. Like I had interviewed like everyone for the movie except for I think Fishburne and Angela Bassett. And Singleton was like the last one to come through, and he just calls up and he was like, really didn't want to do this interview because I'm a veteran now. I'm sick of talking about Boyz N The Hood. I've done a million movies since then, but I have 20 minutes. Let's go. And we were on the phone for like over an hour. And at the end of it, he gives me his email because we kind of like, we nerded out over like 91 movies. Like we were talking
Yeah.
about like, he was like, Boyz N The Hood is the only movie you remember from 1991, except for Silence of the Lambs and Terminator 2. And I'm like, at the time, like JFK was like my favorite movie. I was like, JFK came out in 91 too. That's up there. He's like, yeah, maybe for you. But most people don't. Most people don't think of JFK when they think of 91. They think of Boys and T2 and Silence of the Lambs. So he was a great interview subject. Like he was a straight shooter. Like every time it was like, I interviewed him for like a Tupac. I did like this oral history of Tupac's acting career for Vibe in like 2011 or 2012. And I interviewed Singleton for a minute we were on the phone for a minute talking about that. And like, it was like, a lot of that stuff is in the book really, like the poetic justice stuff. Like it's funny how he like lied about like the whole Janet Kiss thing, how he like
Mm-hmm.
lied about that. Like that was weird. Like he lied about that until his death. Like he gave an interview
Yeah.
where he was still saying, "Oh, that was a publicity stunt I made up." I was like, "You're not going to kiss my actress." It's like,
Right.
no, that's
Because
bullshit.
I remember hearing about that story specifically for the first time, and like that's just what I thought it was, because it was like, oh, he said it, so and not to cut you off, but that was one of the more, I mean, this being a biography, and not like an autobiography, and not one really involving him, because of course he's not with us anymore. Like I really appreciate you not skirting around some of the more difficult and lower point aspects of his career. And that was one that really stuck out to me in here, like the whole, just like the general reaction to poetic justice. Because I mean,
Yeah,
you think about poetic justice now, and it to
a t-shirt.
me,
It's a
what,
t-shirt now.
right? Yeah, exactly. It's a t-shirt, like it's a cult classic
It's
movie.
a vibe. Poetic justice is a vibe. When you
Yeah,
want to like
yeah,
like
truly.
92, 93 Los Angeles, like black culture, like
Right.
it's Tupac and Janet on a t-shirt, and that
Right. And even now, like people, when I talk to most people about Singleton, their thing is either boys or poetic justice. Like that movie really holds, especially like in the black community, like that movie holds in a crazy way. So for me, like having been, like I was like an infant when it came out, so
Mhm.
I wasn't there for like the initial critical reaction, but to read you kind of breaking it down and being like, critics hated this movie when it came out, or like it was like mixed to negative, you
It was,
know?
yeah, and the studio. I mean, that's when they were like, because they thought John was like had the secret sauce. Like
Right, of
Boys was
course.
Columbia's most profitable movie of '91,
Yeah,
and they basically let him do whatever he wanted on Poetic Justice. He rushed it. They There was no pushback. I mean, I spoke to like everybody who was there at the time, like Stephanie Elaine, who was like the main executive who worked with him, Steve Nicolaitis, who produced Boys and Poetic, Mark Canton, who was like running Columbia at
yeah,
the time, and it was just basically like he could do what he wants. Like he did, let him do it, and it was like we have an April start date. He has Janet and Tupac. Um, the script obviously needs work. Like they wanted, like Stephanie Elaine and Steve Nicolaitis wanted him to work on it more, and John was just like, no. I mean, it was the studio. That was more the studio like being like, "Yo, we got to go. We need this to come out." And then like they do the first edit. It was like the fall of '92, and Singleton was just like, they wanted to do reshoots, and he was like, "It's done. It's locked. Fuck it." You know what I mean? Like he
yeah,
just there was not like a care there that there was with Boys. He was like so wanting to be a veteran. He just wanted to get another movie out so he could stop talking about, we could move on from Boys. And like Poetic Justice would have benefited from 6 more months of pre-production, you
yeah,
know, and a few more revisions on the script. Like you see how the movie ends, man. It's like,
yeah,
it's crazy sudden. And like they go from like cursing each other out in in Oakland, like fuck, freak you, witch. And then like Tupac shows up at the salon with his daughter, and it's all good. But like
Yeah.
they actually added the reshoot, like that little scene in between where like they show Tupac like fiddling with like the production equipment and like looking at his fingernails, and Janet like in the looking through her black wardrobe, you know what I mean? Her all black, like mourning, like widow wardrobe, and like picking out like a white sweater or something. Like that was added in like the fall of '92. They only had like a day for reshoots, but like, you know, Steve Nicolaitis told me that like Janet's husband like saw a cut of the film and he was freaking out. He was like, "This movie needs work. Like there needs to be like a buildup, like An Officer and a Gentleman, where he comes in there and sweeps her off her feet." And Steve Nicolaitis goes to him like, "Yeah, you're right, but the ship has sailed on that one. This is what we
Mm,
got." And the result, like, so people love the movie now just because I feel like it's a vibe, and like
yeah.
Janet and Tupac, and like you think of that movie and you think of like that summer. Like I was away in Greece that whole summer, but like I just remember I Get Around, like that came out in like I think it was like June of '93. I mean, the album came out earlier in '93, but like I Get Around I think was like the second single. And like I remember going away to Greece, and like Tupac was like starting to blow up, and I came back like 2 months later and he was you know huge, and he was a tabloid star now too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, Poetic Justice, it's a flawed movie, but like people love it, just because of
Yeah.
nostalgia maybe, or like I
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
know.
I don't know. And just like on top of that, like them being like an iconic pair. So like once again, like just like having that section be led off by, like his relationship with Spike Lee, and Spike being like, like don't be surprised when people kind of start to turn on you after having like the first big iconic movie. And like don't be surprised when the critics kind of start to take you down a peg on some shit. And then of course like that happens with Poetic Justice to a certain extent, and then like once again, I haven't finished the book, so there's like more I want to read and more I'm ready to see about all that stuff. But it's like I don't know, I'm always like with somebody like Singleton who had this gigantic iconic hit movie, and then kind of and then you like everything else after it's kind of like ebbs and flows, even though he's kind of seen as it's interesting to see the trajectory get mapped out, like for like like as somebody who's watched all of Singleton's movies and knows, and of course like through I still haven't finished Snowfall, but I'm like 60% of the way through Snowfall, and like
Okay,
that's
Snowfall, it starts out bad, then it's really good for like two seasons, and then it's meh for one season. Season five kind of sucks because it turns into like an adventure of the week type of thing, where it's like totally like almost like a Walking Dead, but like in South Central, like with crack,
yeah.
like they just get out of these preposterous like situations all the time. And then season
Hmm.
six is really good, and the finale is incredible. It's like one of the best series finales of like it's up there. Like I can't think of what are considered the great ones, like MASH, Sopranos, like
Yep, yep,
when
yep.
you writing it, like it was perfect, like perfect ending to the series.
Yeah, like that's because like I've been hearing so many good things about the ending, and I don't know how familiar you are with Sky Zoo. I'm sure you know who Sky Zoo is,
Yeah, I
but
know him as a rapper, but I'm not as familiar with his. You can't name a song, and like I'll be
so
like, oh yeah, that one, yeah.
so I'm gonna say so Sky put out I want to say like 2 years ago he put out an album called The Mind of a Saint, and the whole album is told the whole he raps the entire story of Snowfall
Oh wow,
throughout the whole album. It's
wow,
pretty dope. It's really really dope.
that's some
Um,
like nerd rapper shit right
Yeah,
there.
man. And it's funny because like he's from New York, and he's doing
uh,
this whole LA thing, like all the references. It's like era specific to what Franklin Saint had go. Yeah, like I can't not think about Snowfall and not think about that album. But yeah, that's more just like an aside. So I mean, like to me, another thing that really sticks out, especially in the beginning, is just of the book is seeing all these parallels between John the person, and then seeing all that show up in the movies. Like with Boys, for example, just you talking about his relationship with his dad, it's hard not to read into the Trey Furious dynamic,
Right.
like between him and his dad, and especially him and his mom. Like, you know, like you mentioned way earlier about the autobiographical aspects, and just like how like how like it comes up in that and Baby Boy in particular. But the one that really struck me was there's like a bit where you talk about him and his crew getting into a fight in college, and he like throws somebody down the stairs and like their
Yes.
arm gets broken, and once again it's hard for me not to think about like any of the fight scenes in Higher Learning, like especially the ones between like Busta and Ice Cube and Michael Rappaport and them. Like it's
Yeah.
like those parallels, like once again, like not knowing a lot of these stories but knowing the movies pretty well, like my mind immediately goes to like that's why so and so did that in this movie, that you know, like so like I mean, as somebody who came to this with a pretty extensive understanding of Singleton just as a director, were there any other specific moments that you learned about through research or through interviews that you immediately drew a parallel to like a moment in a show, to a moment in one of his movies, or maybe even Snowfall, if that's your thing?
Right. Well, two things. Two right away. Like you mentioned one of them, which was so like one of the first people I reached out to for the book. I actually reached out to him during I was writing the proposal. Was
Yeah,
this guy Jan Stiles, who the name, you know, that's where Furious Styles comes from, because John thought his name was incredible.
yeah,
So he grew up in New York. He went to the same high school I did. He went to shout out Bronx Science. He was class of 86 or yeah, 86. So he was there, you know, a decade before me. But so he went to SC with John. Like he just like was like he went on a senior trip to LA and he was like, I want to be by the ocean, you know? So he was like one of the first people I spoke to for the book. And he told me the story of like, he was like, yeah, you know, there was this one girl who went to science and she went to SC as well. And I remember telling like her mom that I was going to like watch out for her. And then, you know, I come home one night and like, she's upset because like somebody called her like a black bitch, you know, and he lost his shit and he went to the frat house and hit with some of like Singleton's friends. Singleton didn't go there, but Jan went to the frat house with like his friends and they fucked up the guy who called her that. And like
yeah,
obviously like, that's in the movie. Like that was, to me that was great. And like, you know, like I had no idea that like John wore like, you know, black trench coats like in college. You know, they wore black backwards baseball caps, you know.
that was their whole
And
thing.
you see, you watch Higher Learning, you don't really get that. But like look at the clothes that like Ice Cube and his friends are wearing. You know, they're wearing like long trench coat jackets, like stuff that like, you know, you wouldn't think like you would think they would wear like starter jackets or something like that of the era. But no, like they were dressed like the way John's crew. There was this crew called Black Pack, and
Uh-huh, Black Pack, yeah,
that's they were like a little clique. But John was in a fraternity as well, so like he had like
right,
he was walking in like different circles, social circles. So that was one, and the other thing was like what I start off the book with, which was the murder of Robbie Stringer, who was
yep,
a guy in the neighborhood, a guy, he was a year older than Singleton. He was 17 and Singleton was 16. And basically his murder kind of is Ricky's murder. Like now,
yeah,
Robbie was into like a lot of things in the street that Ricky was not into. Like Robbie was not, Ricky was like the next Marcus Allen. You know what I mean? Like,
right, yeah, 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 yeah,
you know, he was dealing drugs and he was doing like, you know, B&Es really in the neighborhood. But, you know, he was Singleton's friend. And, the the murder, like he was murdered in an alleyway. Like he where it differs is that he made it home. He got shot in the chest and he like comes home and he like lifts up his shirt and he shows his mother like the hole in his chest and he
right.
dies there before the medics or ambulance can arrive.
Crazy
Yeah.
image, yeah,
And like, that was one of those things where, you talk about like the book writing process. Like I interviewed this guy and then Singleton was basically Trey from Boyz N The Hood. Like
right, yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
murder, like he finds out, he goes into onto the block and like, there's like a car full of, Crips. And they're like, they tell him that his friend got killed and, he stole his dad's gun and he tried to get in the car and
and his
like,
friend was
they
like,
were
go
like,
home, yeah,
they're like, go home. like, this is that line. Like, I spoke to Kevin Orange, who was the guy in the car, and he was like, "This is what we do. This isn't what you do." You
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so you think about like the way he flipped that into like his movie. It's incredible. Like I interviewed Kevin and he told me that story, and then you go googling Robbie Stringer, and I found like the entire like case file, all the court documents about it, and that's how I was able to like recreate the first 2 pages of the book. Basically, like all that information came from like the court documents about like the trial of the person who shot him, really.
Right,
So like, yeah, that's all his stuff was like his personal life was in everything,
right.
he used examples from it all the time, you know.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, like I want to say again that like once again, like even though I haven't finished it, I've already gathered so much from this book, like even just reading the handful of it I was able to. And like really once again, those parallels are always the thing that stick out for me, especially for somebody who injects so much of himself into his movies. So like this is really a gift. So it's like I appreciate having this, and like I'm gonna go back and like Rosewood is one I've been meaning to go back and revisit anyway, and I can't wait
Good
to.
luck finding it. Good luck finding it. It's like nowhere
Yeah,
on streaming. You have to like
yeah,
order.
no, I'm gonna find it on YouTube. I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere, but
It's
like,
not. I
oh
had to buy the
wow,
DVD. There's some scenes
okay,
on YouTube, but you're
okay,
gonna have to buy the DVD.
that's fine. I'll buy the DVD. That's cool. I'm not above that at all. But I mean, like anybody listening, like if you're into Singleton, this is a book to get. Like, please go find it. It's out. Run it up, run Tom up. But last question before we break. Uh, Tom, if your life was a movie, what would it be about?
Oh Jesus. Oh
Yeah,
God. Um,
sorry.
oh my God. And it was funny because like I was prepared for like all your questions, but I wasn't prepared for that one. Um, what would it be about?
It's open ended,
I don't want
like
to say I don't want
yeah.
to say adaptation. I don't want to say adaptation, but like that's like the easiest thing for me because
Yeah.
when I tell you like what this book kind of like extracted from me, and like for 3.5 years, I mean, it started like I got the idea to write it in like Christmas break, like that COVID Christmas, like the week between Christmas and New Year's 2020, like doing an interview for like a different story. And that's
Yeah.
when the first idea popped into my head, and like just working on it for so long and just being like obsessive about it, and it basically taking over my life and like my family's life. Like I would, I rented an office. I rented a desk at NYU for a few years, and I was like writing down there. Like any day my wife had off from work, it was like, have fun with the kids. I'm going downtown to write for like 12 hours, which is
Mm,
foul, but like, um, necessary, I guess. Um, so yeah, like that's like the first thing that comes to my mind is like, but nobody wants to watch a movie about writers though. Like that shit is like, come on, like you're sitting there, it's all internal. There's nothing really about, I mean, I don't know. Like it's just like that's what I just think of just because it was just such a part of my life for so long. And
yeah.
like literally like when people talk about, I mean, there's no blood, but like the sweat and tears really that went into this book, like I guess the hard work. Like I'm sitting at this desk here, and this is where the on like 2-3 days a week I'd go down to NYU and write, or I'd go to my sister's old bedroom in my parents' house in Queens and write there. But most of the time it was here, and it was here till like 1 a.m. Like I put the kids to bed and then like go back on the computer for like 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
Um, and like I don't think that's very cinematic, but like maybe like that could be like the background, like where I'm doing something else, and like he's like a writer working on a book that's like driving him
Hmm.
mad, kind of. But like there has to be something other than the book, though. Like the book is like the pretext, I guess. I don't know,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
like that's just like where my mind goes right now because I mean, I'm still in it, but not as much really. Like I'm coming out of it, I'm like thinking of like the next thing, like it's
Yeah.
like really want to do another book just so I can apply everything I learned and everything everywhere I fucked up on this book, because I did
Hmm.
plenty of fuck ups.
Hey.
Um, like I can't even like like I spent like after the book shipped, like I spent the month like basically like beating myself up over like everywhere I fucked up in, where it was
Mhm.
just like almost like the scene in 25th Hour where he's like talking back to the fucking mirror, like, "You dumb fuck,
Yeah.
you dumb fuck." Like that's how I got because there was like a million things I wish I did different, but I'm still super proud of it. Like I think it's not to I hate when writers are like super humble about stuff, and like I know that like I'm not like I can't compare myself to like other writers, but it's a good book. Like I'm confident
Yeah.
enough to say that it's a good book, and it's better than like the average biographies. Like I have a bookshelf over there, and like this is better than a lot of the biographies that are on that shelf. Like the
Hey.
care I put into it, like I spent so much time on it. Like uh, the the style that like I would like hum paragraphs in my head, like so
Hmm.
I could like make sure
Word.
that it was like the sentence structure was diverse and it wouldn't become boring to read. Sometimes like people like it gets repetitive.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I
yeah.
did that for the entire book, like
I do
I
that shit
was
now. I
totally,
feel you. Yeah.
totally obsessed with it, and like going over every night with the pen and paper, like doing old school copy notes. So it's a good book, and I'm confident enough to say that. And I think everybody who's read it has, you know, even though like it's a warts and all biography, and that's people that were close to John that uh, cooperated with the book, who cooperated with me, and who spoke to me for the book. They said that now that was like the greatest compliment when they said like Singleton would have appreciated the fact that I didn't play it safe, the fact that
Word.
it wasn't an ideography, that like it showed like his accomplishments, and like I hope people gather that I had a lot of respect for him. He was a
Yeah.
complicated dude. He did like some foul shit in his personal life. Um, he had issues, if you read the book, like you will, realize, but like, um, there was genuinely like a lot of respect there for him and for what he accomplished. And like, I think the thing people need to take away from the book was just that there's this one quote that someone had where it was like, a lot of people are protective of their spot and they're scared to help people because that person might end up taking their spot. And they're
Yeah.
like, John wasn't like that. Like John fulfilled his dream by making movies. Like John, once he made Boyz N The Hood, it was like, this is what he was working towards his entire life, even though it was like 22 years, 23 years. Like, so he helped so many people, and he basically, was so generous with his knowledge. And I think that's a problem that we have now a lot, where like people are kind of like hesitant, like, there's an expression I hate, was like, you got to pay me for my time. You know what I mean? And it's like, I was
Hmm.
talking about like, all the people I learned from at the source when I was like 22, 23.
Yeah.
And it was like, I can't imagine if these people like wouldn't take me to coffee or like sit with me in their office for like a half hour and just like bullshit about the craft.
Yeah.
I always did that. Like, when people would reach out to me, it doesn't happen as much anymore, but like, I remember like in the like 2000s or early 2010s, like a young writer would reach out to me and I would talk to them. I would, if they were in New York, I'd meet them. Like I think it's like very important to kind of like share what you've learned, because like
Yeah.
someone put you on, like
Exactly.
everybody, what's that Obama quote? You didn't build it yourself. Like,
Yeah.
like help, like that's the
Right.
way, careers are built that way. Like,
I'm
yeah,
I'm I'm in that position right now. Like I'm in that exact position right now. So I feel you. Like this is like we shouldn't be siloed. I couldn't
yeah.
agree more. And real quick, is this your first book?
That's my first book. Yeah.
There,
I'm like,
yeah, that's all that this is your first book. That's all that needs to be said. This doesn't read like a first book. That's all I'm gonna
thank
say.
you. I've been writing for like 20 years. You know what I mean? I feel like my entire
Yeah,
career was like leading up to this. Like, and
of
that's why I'm like
course.
super proud of it. And I want everybody to click that link.
Yeah. Yeah, nah, run it up. Run it up, bro. Please.
Thanks for listening. Shout out to y'all for making it this far. And shout out to all the black people listening too, because y'all really impeccable. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell a friend to come through next time. 1.